The Professor Pat Show, brought to you by TroopResource.org, trying to put 1,000 skills into every troop's backpack.
Hello Scouts, Professor Patch here. I understand you're going to be attending the National Jamboree. You're going to have a great time. One of the activities that we want to familiarize you with is patch trading. Let's review some basic patch terminology. This is the participant patch. Every scout from anywhere in the world that goes to the National Jamboree is going to be wearing this patch on their uniform just above the right pocket. This is a council shoulder patch, or a CSP. This is what you wear back in your own council on your shoulder. This is a JSP, National Jamboree shoulder patch. These are the patches you want to trade for, not the council shoulder patches. It has to say National Jamboree on it for you to want it. At the National Jamboree, you're going to encounter 3 different types of manufacturing processes and 2 types of borders. So let's review these with you. The first is a twill patch. The white background has no embroidered thread, it's just background. The only embroidery on this patch is on the border and the characters themselves. This is a very flat looking patch. It's not very expensive to produce. The second patch is called a fully embroidered patch. The background material is completely covered with thread, and then the subject material and the text is embroidered on top of that. It makes a much fuller look, a richer look, and it's a little more expensive to produce. This is the photo over imagery patch. It's the most expensive to produce, but it gives you the best looking patch. It can give you greater detail and fuller, richer colors. There are 2 types of borders. This is the cut edge border, and this is the rolled border or mirrored edge. This is a less expensive border to produce, and when you combine it with a twill patch, it really does look cheap. This border is actually sewn onto the edge of the patch, and again adds to the richness of a fully embroidered patch. Until you attend the National Jamboree, you have no idea how addictive patch trading can be. You're going to encounter hundreds and hundreds of scouts sitting by the side of the road or at the foot of a bridge trading patches. We don't want you to spend all of your time trading patches. There's lots to see and do at the Jamboree. For most traders, there's no such thing as enough patches. We recommend that you buy 1 set and leave it at home as your souvenir. We make these patches available to the contingent members from our council at half the price of what the general public is paying. Why? Because we want these patches available to the scouts to be able to buy at a reasonable price and to have fun. Every council puts out a unique set of Jamboree shoulder patches or JSPs for their scouts to buy and trade. Normally, the theme has something to do with the area where they live. Most sets have a center patch or a jacket patch which the JSPs fit around. This center patch, used by Greater Yosemite Council, features A&W root beer and hot rods. Most of the patches that you'll encounter at the Jamboree are 2 inches by 5 inches, which is the standard size and is controlled by National. They do, however, permit an extended size of 3 inches by 5 inches, which is what Cradle of Liberty is doing this year. There's always a hot commodity patch at the National Jamboree. It might be the Marvel set or the Yoda set. The owner is going to want 10 of your patches for 1 of his. Remember, always trade 1 for 1. Every scout will tell you that his patch is the rare one. Well, that just isn't so. Every patch can't be the rare one. They make an app for your phone where you can scan the barcode on the back of the patch, and it will actually tell you who the manufacturer is, who the council is, and how many patches were actually made. Some councils are so small that they might only have 1 troop. Others may even have to share a troop. In this instance, there's not going to be very many of their patches available, so they might be considered rare. Other councils, like Cradle of Liberty, bring a lot of troops, so they have a lot of patches available at the Jamboree. The demand for them might be a little less because there's so many of them. We overcome this by making a fantastic looking set that is in higher demand. Here's a nice desert animal set from Grand Canyon Council. Utah Parks Council generally does a dinosaur theme. There had been a fear that adults might take advantage of scouts when trading patches, so historically, adults were only allowed to trade with adults and youth with youth. Starting, however, in 2013, this changed, and adults were allowed to trade with youth, but only when supervised by ISCA, the International Scout Collectors Association, and only in certain areas. At the Jamboree, there should be no money changing hands. You should not be buying patches, just trading them. So if you arrive with 25 patches, you should anticipate going home with 25 patches that you traded for. Once you catch the trading fever at the Jamboree, and you will, it'll be too late to buy patches there, so make sure that you get your patches before you leave. Our contingent's going to be in Village A with all of the Northeast region troops. If you want to get patches from elsewhere in the country, you're going to have to go out and visit other parts of the Jamboree. Don't trade all your patches on the first day. Get out and see what's out there. You might like something better later in the week. Every council in the Boy Scouts of America has an Order of the Arrow Lodge. The Order of the Arrow also produces patches for the National Jamboree. This is an example of our 2013 Order of the Arrow set. Only Order of the Arrow members should trade OA flaps. When the Order of the Arrow produces a two-piece set, the bottom half is called a chevron and the top half a flap. Ghost flaps are when a patch is made entirely of one color. The subject matter and text is raised, but it is often very difficult to read. Scouts love ghost patches, and many will trade several patches for one. Remember, Professor Patch's first rule of trading is 1 for 1. Spoof patches are not official BSA patches. They do not have a fleur-de-lis on them. They frequently violate copyright laws. Manufacturers are just looking to sell these patches to make a profit. We suggest avoiding any spoof patches. Some patches have glow-in-the-dark threads or light-activated threads that make them glow. Many scouts will want you to break up your set and trade one of their patches for one of your patches. Don't be afraid to say no, thanks for the offer, but I don't want to break up my set. Serious collectors will want to trade their entire set for your set. Since our 2017 set has 7 patches in it, if you're going to trade set for set, make sure that you get at least 7 patches back when you trade. Maybe even a few more in light of the production costs and size of our set. There's a large military presence that supports the National Jamboree. Have a conversation with one of our military personnel and they might just give you a patch for free. The Army, Coast Guard, and National Guard all produce patches. Here are the Army patches. One of my favorite patch collecting groups is U.S. Army Entomology, which are the bug guys. I try and get one of these from every Jamboree. Each time you visit the military's activity area, you'll get a patch. Visit several times and you'll create quite a trading stock for future trades. There's lots of other interesting groups that produce patches at the Jamboree. There's many support services. This is an example of the fire department's patches. Other support groups that produce patches are the trading posts, banking, mail services, cooks, action centers, and many more. There's also a conservation area that you should visit. Many of the conservation groups like the Wild Turkey Federation will give you a patch just for touring their facility. At each Jamboree there's been a participant patch. Here are the participant patches from the first 6 national Jamborees starting in 1935. Note that 2 of them have Washington kneeling in the snow at Valley Forge. That's because in both instances the National Jamboree was at Valley Forge in those years. This was the 2013 National Jamboree participant patch that everyone wore on their uniforms. You can wear this patch until the next Jamboree, at which time it should be removed. Some old-timers, however, never remove their Jamboree patches. Teddy Roosevelt Council has used the Marvel characters and their Jamboree patches for the last 3 Jamborees. They have permission from Marvel to use the images on their patches. This is the center patch from their 2005 set. Jacket patches seem to be getting bigger and bigger. Here's the Marvel 2010 jacket patch. And now for some local history. Here are the only 5 JSPs that Philadelphia Council produced. Pay particular attention to the one in the upper left-hand corner. It's rectangular in shape, yet it was still worn on the shoulder like a standard JSP. Here are the only 4 patches that Valley Forge Council produced. Take a look at the round one. Just like Philadelphia, we have the round one, a different shape, yet still worn on the sleeve. The reason we show you Valley Forge and Philadelphia is that these 2 councils merged and became our current Cradle of Liberty Council. So this is what Cradle of Liberty produced in 1997, and all of the scouts, no matter how many troops there were, wore this single JSP on their uniform. In 2001, Cradle of Liberty had 13 troops, yet they all used the exact same patch design. The only difference was the border was a different color for each troop. Not very exciting. Our 2010 center patch was laser cut so that the 12 patches that were our JSPs could fit into it and make the shape of a helicopter rotor. We were the first council to incorporate a shape into our patches other than a circle, square, or rectangle. Since that time, other councils have copied us, and the designs since 2010 have really taken off. Also, 2010 was the last year where you could have an individual troop number on a JSP. Our 2013 set was for trading only and not to be worn on the uniform. Many councils have already released their 2017 sets. Remember we talked about set shapes. Take a look at what some of these councils have produced. This is the Trapper Trails Council set. This is the Golden Empire Minion set. And this one is the Mississippi Valley Train set. And here we have the Seneca Waterways Doctor Who set. Several councils sell both a fundraising set and a trader set. We would urge our scouts to just go with the trader sets that are more reasonably priced. This is the Northern Lights Council set. This is the Indian Nations Council from Oklahoma set. I think it's the most beautiful set so far in 2017. The bottom patch is their OA patch. I'd like to go over some safety precautions with you. If 99% of the scouts at the Jamboree live by the oath and law, and there are 40,000 scouts at the Jamboree, then you better exercise some caution with your patches, because that means there's 400 knuckleheads out there. Never go out alone, and especially never trade alone. The buddy system needs to be in place at all times, especially when you're trading. Take turns trading, and the second scout should have your back. There will be dozens of scouts looking at your patches, picking them up, asking you questions, and inadvertently distracting you. This is where a second set of eyes from your buddy helps. Don't take all of your patches with you when you go out in the morning, only the ones you want to trade that day. Leave the others in your tent hidden and out of view. Each trade traditionally ends with a scout handshake as a sign of brotherhood and fair dealing. The final discussion point is storage of patches when you get home. They should be stored in a place that is temperature controlled, hopefully not in an attic that gets very hot in the summer or in a basement that might get damp or have that musty, mildewy smell. Never store patches in a Ziploc or clear plastic bag. The color from the threads could leach out onto the plastic. Probably the best way to store your patches is in a binder in clear sleeves. That way they can be viewed at any time and the memories of your Jamboree will come flooding back. They can also be stored in patch boxes. Your own council set can be framed or even put in a shadow box and hung on your wall. This is our 2017 Cradle of Liberty National Jamboree set. This is Professor Patch wishing you all happy trading.
Come visit troopresource.org to see how you can earn your very own limited edition patch.